rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, and then shall the end come.
Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?
Here's today's prophecy update. It looked like President Trump was well on his way to brokering a Middle East peace deal. Then, on December the 6th of 2017, the president announced the U.S. was recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and would move its embassy there. The backlash from the Palestinians and the Arabs was immediate and even violent. Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas immediately announced that all peace negotiations with the United States were over. Why did President Trump take this pivotal step at this time? We'll answer on today's edition of End of the Age. Well, to say that we are living in historic and prophecy-fulfilling times would really be an understatement. Events are coming at us so fast. On my computer here, I've got a list of 30 articles that all pertain to the fulfillment of Bible prophecy in one way or another. It's just absolutely astounding. It's almost breathtaking. Sometimes we talk about drinking from a fire hose. That's sort of what it's like, the way events are just rushing at us. But all of this does us no good unless we can make some sense of this. Now, before we dive into today's subject, I want to announce a very important and exciting prophecy conference right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's going to be at Garland, Texas, and I'm going to be speaking on Trump, Jerusalem, the United States, and Armageddon. Now, think about that. Trump, Jerusalem, the United States, Armageddon. It all ties together. You will not want to miss this brand new first time taught lesson. It's going to be held this coming Saturday, January the 6th at 6 p.m. at the North Cities United Pentecostal Church, which happens to be where I make my home when I'm in town, 502 Beltline Road, Garland, Texas. All of you are invited. There's no admission charge. I will look forward to seeing you there. All of our end time products will be there. It's going to be an exciting time. We'll deal with such things as what the outcome of President Trump's recognition of Jerusalem will be. How will Trump's presidency affect the future of the United States? Will there ever be a peace agreement? And then on Sunday evening, also at 6 o'clock, that's January the 7th, I will be speaking on breaking prophetic fulfillments. And we'll be talking about what's happened even during the past 7 days, that current. Beyond breaking prophetic fulfillments, I will also be taking questions from the floor. You'll have a chance to ask your questions. I'll be answering them on the fly right there from the floor. And once again, it's at the North Cities Pentecostal Church, 502 Beltline in Garland, Texas. 6 o'clock Saturday night, 6 o'clock Sunday night. Plan to make both meetings, if at all possible. I just have a feeling some very exciting things are going to happen at this meeting, and you won't want to miss it. Well, let's talk about President Trump recognizing Jerusalem. His appointed agents to work out a peace deal between the Palestinians and the Israelis. You remember President Trump said, oh, that would be the ultimate deal. And of course, he delights in thinking of himself as the master deal maker. He said, if we could get a peace in the Middle East between the Palestinians and the Israelis, the ultimate deal. So he appointed his two closest, most trusted aides, Mr. Kushner and Mr. Jason Greenblatt. He appointed them to be his representatives. Of course, Kushner is his son-in-law. Jared Kushner is his son-in-law, and Jason Greenblatt has been his lawyer for the last 20 years. So we're talking about the most trusted that he has. He put them on this very special project. Well, they started working immediately after the inauguration back in January, and they were in and out of the Middle East almost completely. To show you how much, they met with Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the Palestinians, 20 times in the first 7 months alone. So they had been listening to the Palestinians. They had visited the Jordanians. They had visited the Egyptians. They had visited the Saudi Arabians. And they visited the Israelis. And they were listening. They had not been offering solutions, only listening. Because what they hoped to do was to understand the big picture of everything and to acquire an understanding of what would work and what would not work, what might be negotiable and what would never be negotiable. So Kushner and Greenblatt had worked vigorously for 10 months to understand the situation from both sides. And then all of a sudden, President Trump makes this world-shaking announcement that nobody really thought he would do because all the presidents before him had not done it. But he made the announcement that the United States was recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and that we would be moving our embassy to Jerusalem. Well, the reaction was immediate. It was vigorous. It was loud. So why did Trump do this? Is he just a reckless, disorganized, unthinking, impulsive person? Or was there a method to his madness? Now think about this. Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the Palestinians, toward one of the last conversations he had with Jared Kushner and with Jason Greenblatt, he said, look, we've talked about everything. You know everything. You know where we stand. You know where the Israelis stand. We're ready for America to put its cards on the table. What do you think the answer is? So President Trump promised. This happened about November. He said, give me 3 or 4 months and I'll present the American plan for peace. Then all of a sudden, out of the blue, he makes this announcement that looks like it just absolutely torpedoes the whole peace process. So did he make this huge investment of time and talent on what he called the ultimate deal just to shoot it, wipe it out, abolish it? What's Donald Trump thinking? Is he just a reckless gunslinger, or did he have a method behind this whole situation? I believe I understand it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read some quotes to you from President Trump himself that actually explains what happened. In my opinion, after he looked at where the Israelis stood and where the Palestinians stood, he decided there was one issue that could absolutely block any potential deal. That issue was Jerusalem. Now, the Palestinians said over and over and over again, there will be no peace agreement unless we have East Jerusalem as our capital. But on the other hand, the Jewish people had annexed Jerusalem, East Jerusalem, and declared it their eternal capital. And they had entered into what's called the Jerusalem Covenant way back in 1993. We'll never surrender Jerusalem. And polls were taken in Israel that 87% of the Jewish people in Israel said, we will not divide Jerusalem even if it means no deal with the Palestinians ever. So Trump looks at all this And he understands it perfectly. And he says, this is the issue. We can deal with everything else, but this is the issue that can torpedo any efforts that we might put forth toward peace in the Middle East. So how do we solve this? I understand the Jews. It's been their capital since David placed the capital there in 1000 BC for the last 3,000 years. It's been the capital of the nation of Israel. Even when they were in exile, they would turn their face to Jerusalem 3 times a day, and they would pray toward Jerusalem that someday they would be gathered back there and that they would once again worship there. And this was the place that was their holiest site on the face of the earth. The Muslims' first holy site was Mecca. Their second holy site was Medina. They only claimed Jerusalem as their third holy site. And they had really not revered it that much until the Jews came along. And so Trump looked at this whole equation and said the Jews cannot yield. They will not yield on this point. But the Palestinians, I think they only want it because the Jews want it. And I believe that the only way to get a deal is for Israel to have Jerusalem. So he made the blockbuster decision to announce on December the 6th that the United States was recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Now, there's more to it than that, because the U.S. Congress had passed a law in 1995 that the president had to move the embassy to Jerusalem and recognize Jerusalem as the capital of the nation of Israel, unless he signed a waiver because of national security reasons. Well, Presidents Clinton, Bush, and Obama had all signed those waivers for 44 times. It had to be done every 6 months, and 22 years had elapsed by then. Well, Trump signed the waiver in June, but he had already promised he would move the embassy. Of course, the rest of them had promised too, but they broke their promises. But he promised he would, and he prides himself in keeping his promises. So when it came time for the waiver again, the first time, he was in the heat of these negotiations, and he said, we will move the embassy to Jerusalem inside the context of a peace deal with the Palestinians. But now, 6 months later, after he's gathered all the facts, after Kushner and Greenblatt have put everything together, Trump looked at that and said, you know, we're going to get stuck right here. This is not going to happen unless I take some very unorthodox action. So when it came time again to make the decision, will I sign the waiver or will I recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and move the embassy? Trump rocked the world by making his announcement. Yes, the United States was going to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital, which everybody knows. Their Knesset is there. The prime minister lives there. All their governmental buildings are there. I mean, it was all play acting. It's like the emperor's new clothes. Everybody said, oh, Israel's embassy is in Tel Aviv, but there was no parliament in Tel Aviv. There was no Supreme Court in Tel Aviv. There was no governmental offices in Tel Aviv. It was all ludicrous. It was play acting. It was the emperor's new clothes. And finally Trump said, look, I'm simply acknowledging reality. Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. And it's been that way ever since Israel was reborn in 1948. And the whole world knows it, but the whole world was determined to bow to the world government, the United Nations, because the UN said, oh, no, you cannot have your headquarters in Jerusalem. Why? Everybody else has their headquarters, has their capital where they want to have it. Yeah, but you can't. You're different. We're different from the other 192 nations in the world. Why can all of them choose their capital and you recognize it, and yet we cannot? Well, just because. Same reason the Palestinians want their capital there. It's never been their capital before, ever, ever, ever. But still, we got to have it. Why? Because God said 4,000 years ago, I will place my name in Jerusalem. And he said it 37 times in the Old Testament. And Satan said, really? You want your name in Jerusalem? Guess where I want mine? Jerusalem. So the battle, the struggle for Jerusalem began. Now, I would remind you, I'm tipping my hand a little bit here, but I would remind you that the Bible predicts explicitly that the battle of Armageddon will be fought over Jerusalem, that the battle will be between the United Nations and Israel at that final battle called Armageddon. It's all going to boil down to the Jerusalem issue. So President Trump decided to deal with the most difficult issue up front. In his tweets, Trump argued his decision had taken Jerusalem, the toughest part of the negotiations. This is the word of President Trump. The toughest part of the negotiation off the table. But Israel, for that, would have to pay more in the final negotiations. That's what President Trump himself said. I've taken the most difficult issue off the table. Okay. Now, I want to pause right now. All of this is leading us straight towards the time when there will be a peace agreement. And when that peace agreement is signed, it will mark the beginning of the final 7 years to Armageddon. We got to get ready. I've told you before, but many of you maybe were not listening at the time. I had a dream a few weeks ago. In this dream, they signed the peace agreement. And there were a lot of people around me, and they were sort of milling around like, oh my, this is a big thing. But we don't know what to do. It's like they were aimlessly wandering around, frustrated because they didn't know what to do. I woke up from that dream, and I knew right then we could not allow that to happen. We've got to be ready when this happens. So what are we supposed to do once this final 7 years begins? The Bible tells us in Daniel chapter 11, verse 33, it says of this time, and they that understand among the people shall instruct many. That's what we're supposed to be doing. But we have to understand before we can instruct many. Do we have people that really can talk the talk, that really understand, that can write letters to the editor, that can appear on talk shows, that can talk to their friends, their neighbors, their churches? This is going to have to spread like a prairie fire. But it cannot happen unless people are equipped. And it's just like the Lord dropped it into my heart. Start the end time 1,000. Well, how do we do that? How do we prepare people that aren't ready? And fortunately, it's like God has already planned it all ahead of time. We have the Jerusalem Prophecy College consisting of 11 semesters of instruction that will get you ready so you'll be an expert in Bible prophecy and also other spiritual things you need to know in the times just ahead. Now, let me tell you, if we wait until they sign the deal to get ready, it'll be too late. It's going to be like Noah waiting until it starts raining before he starts building the ark. Too late. We have to get ready now before they sign the peace deal. I'm asking you, if you believe this message, if you love Bible prophecy, and if you catch the urgency, would you please consider, matter of fact, don't consider, do it. Become part of the End Time 1000. You say, that's going to be some work. Yes, it is, but it's going to be wonderful work. You're going to enjoy it, you're going to grow, you're going to learn, and you're going to equip yourself for God to use you. The Bible says, study to show yourself approved unto God, a workman that needs not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Okay, it's easy. Here's what you do. Simply go to, on your computer, JerusalemProphecyCollege.com. Jerusalem Prophecy, that's Prophecy, college.com. And there you'll see exactly what you need to do. You'll establish an account, and then you'll sign up to go. Now, there is a small tuition. And when I say small, I mean really small. It's ridiculously small. We're just charging enough to cover the administrative cost of this whole program. Now, we're asking for 1,000. We'd love to have 10,000. We'd love to have 100,000. I mean, we're going to need it, but we're starting out. We want you to be a part of the first end time 1,000. So when this thing breaks, God can use you for your family, your friends, your neighbors, your co-workers, your city, your state. Okay. Remember, go to JerusalemProphecyCollege.com. Become part of the End Time 1000. Everything's online. You'll take a quiz after every single lesson, and then the computer automatically grades your quiz. So don't just hurry through it. Absorb the material. Take the quiz without looking at your notes. Absorb the material. Master it. Really digest it till it becomes a part of you, so you can take the quiz and then keep on going. You can move as fast as you can go. Some people may do several lessons per day, but you probably won't want to move that fast. If you do like even one a week, there's a total of 183 lessons. So get started. If you did one a day, you could be done in half of a year, and you could be ready. I cannot tell you when this peace agreement is going to be signed, but I'm telling you it's coming. Okay, I just had to talk to you about that. Okay, now let's see what's next. What has President Trump done? Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the Palestinians, says, we want nothing to do with you. When Vice President Pence comes to the Middle East, which he is going to be doing in January, we don't want to talk to him. We don't want to meet with him. Abbas withdrew. The Palestinian representative from Washington, D.C., called him back home. Then he changed his mind when he realized this was going to cause him to lose a lot of funding, so he then sent him back the next day. Nevertheless, Abbas says, you've done this, we're done with you. Well, Trump is not one to take something like that sitting down. Trump threatened to cut off U.S. aid to the Palestinian Authority. This comes from the Associated Press. In his tweets, Trump argued his decision had taken Jerusalem, the toughest part of the negotiation, off the table. But Israel, for that, would have to pay more. We've already mentioned that, but I want you to hear it again. This is Trump's logic. Now, when the hoopla dies down and all of the backlash dies down, will the Palestinians say, okay, what are they going to have to pay? How's this going to work? Anyway, the article goes on to say, when Trump declared Jerusalem to be Israel's capital, he insisted, counterintuitively, that the move would improve, not hurt, prospects for clinching a peace deal. Now, I'll remind you, many people have been down this path. President Clinton tried to barter a deal, spent 2 weeks locked into Camp David with Yasser Arafat and with Ehud Barak, at that time the Prime Minister of Israel, came away empty-handed. Bush tried. Several have tried to get a deal. All have failed. Of course, President Obama tried amazingly together with Secretary of State John Kerry. They failed. So everybody has failed. Now then Donald Trump comes along to try to do what no one else has been able to do. So in the days after the decision to recognize Jerusalem, Trump administration officials said the strategy was based on the notion that Israel had lost faith in the U.S. as a committed partner during the Obama administration, and Israel had. Obama was looked on as an enemy because Obama allowed the United Nations to pass a resolution declaring Israel's presence in the West Bank and in East Jerusalem as a flagrant violation of international law. It was a stab in the back. Well, with trust in Washington restored because of Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, Netanyahu's government would be more inclined going forward to make tough concessions that would ultimately be needed for a peace deal. The U.S. officials argued at the time, and Israeli officials quietly indicated that they could potentially do so. So they're whispering in the back rooms, yes, you're right. If you'll take this step, we'll do our very best to be flexible to get the ultimate deal done. Now, Trump's envoy to the United Nations, U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley, foreshadowed Trump's warning earlier Tuesday at the UN Security Council. Haley said the president doesn't want to give more funds until the Palestinians are willing to come back to the negotiating table. Abbas says, we're not even talking to you. We won't meet with Vice President Pence. And Trump says, well, fine. We'll just keep our money then, because we're pouring in over $500 million per year into the Palestinian coffers. So Nikki Haley says, we're just going to keep our money until you decide you're ready to negotiate. If you're not ready to negotiate, we're wasting everything. We're wasting our time. Okay, the article goes on to say, we still very much want to have a peace process. Nothing changes with that. The Palestinians now have to show they want to come to the table, Haley said. As of now, they're not coming to the table, but they asked for aid. We're not giving the aid. We're going to make sure that they come to the table. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if they get this deal done, you and I enter the final 7 years, it's going to happen, whether it happens under the Trump administration or someplace else. It feels like to me that it's going to happen sooner rather than later, but I cannot promise you that for sure. I do want to tell you, though, that our brand new End Time magazine is just out. What to expect in 2018. I wrote the article myself, and if you're not yet a subscriber to End Time magazine, why not? Cancel all your other subscriptions. Forget Sports Illustrated. Forget Vogue and all those other magazines. It's the End Time. If you believe it's the End Time, what's the one magazine you should subscribe to? End Time magazine, of course. It's a no-brainer. If you're not yet a subscriber, pick up the phone and give us a call. The number to call is 1-800-END-TIME. And please pray about it. Matter of fact, just do it. Become part of the End Time 1000. Go to JerusalemProphecyCollege.com and let's get going. Time is wasting and we don't know how much we have left. Please do it today.
If ever people need to hear the unvarnished truth, it is now. There are some subjects that are not politically correct to talk about, but they're urgent. That's why I'm grateful for End Time magazine. If you're not a subscriber, you're missing information that will really impact your life. End Time has a bi-monthly magazine that explains how current events are fulfilling Bible prophecy. You can get a 2-year subscription for only $29. You can also get a bulk subscription and pass them out to your church. We have gotten reports that End Time magazine has caused spiritual awakenings in churches when they see the prophecies being fulfilled right now. You can start your own ministry and leave them in doctors' offices, libraries, laundromats. You never know if you might be responsible for saving someone who is searching for the unvarnished truth. That's what the magazine has done in many lives. Call 1-800-363-8463. That's 1-800-END-TIME and get your subscription today.
Move Mountains with Irvin Baxter, the new book by Irvin's grandson, provides 30 days of devotion that will enhance your connection to God and others. Authentic illustrations from early morning devotions at End Time will help you find your purpose and eliminate fears. Commit to taking this 30-day journey and experience real life change. Order this brand new book for only $14.99. Call 1-800-363-8463 or go to endtime.com/move.
If your station only carries the first 30 minutes of End of the Age, go to endtime.com and click the watch button to continue today's broadcast. You can also finish up later by clicking the archives button.
Well, we're back and we're taking your calls in this segment of the program. There's just so much on the table since I was able to talk to you last. My wife and I took a short vacation between Christmas and New Year's. Dave filled in for me at that time admirably, I am sure. But I'm so happy to be back with you. It's time for you to call, the number to call to be on the air with me, End Time, 877-363-8463. While you're dialing, let me remind you once again, very important prophecy conference coming up this weekend right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Everybody make plans to attend. It's going to be Saturday evening, 6 p.m. I'll be speaking on Trump, Jerusalem, Armageddon. And it is going to be, I promise you, jam-packed. It's information everybody should know. So make a point to be here, be right on time. We're going to be starting right away at 6 p.m. And then on Sunday evening, again at 6 p.m., we'll be talking about breaking prophetic fulfillments. What's happening right now? I'm talking about things that have happened just this week. And I'm going to be explaining many aspects of Bible prophecy for about 30 minutes, and then we're going to throw it open for you to ask your questions from the floor. This has become one of the very favorite things we do at our prophecy conferences, and you'll be able to ask your questions. So plan to be there. That's this coming Saturday night and Sunday night. The address is in Garland, Texas. It is 502 Beltline, Garland, Texas. It's the North Cities Pentecostal Church, 502 Beltline Road in Garland, Texas. 6 o'clock on Saturday night, 6 o'clock on Sunday night. I'm going to look forward to seeing you there. Okay. Now, we've got a lot to talk about. Oh, by the way, if you want to reach our operators, let's say you'd like to subscribe to End Time Magazine, the number to call, 1-800 Time to be on the air with me, 877 End Time. Let's get right to the phones. Kevin is calling from Pennsylvania. Hello, Kevin.
Hello.
You're on the air.
Yes, this is. I've got people that I've talked to, and I know how to lead them to the Lord as far as what they need to do to be born again. But what about the person who has been born again, wanders away from the faith, and now wants to come back?
Well, the first thing they have to believe in is that God will take them back. There's a lot of guilt with walking away from the Lord, and they may question, can I get back? We've got a wonderful story in the Bible, the story of the prodigal son, that teaches us. Make sure, if you've got your speakerphone off, please turn it down there, Kevin, because it's feeding back to us, if you'd be so kind.
Okay.
Okay, that's much better. Thank you very much. So they must believe in the forgiveness of Jesus Christ. They need to have faith in his blood. The Bible says if we ask him to forgive us, he is just and faithful to forgive us. He's promised he will. He wants to forgive us. You know, Satan will take people back in a heartbeat, and yet sometimes we think God will not take us back. It's simply not true. He said, he that comes to me, I will no wise cast out. So the first step to getting back is to get in a good Bible teaching, born again church and start attending faithfully, and then set aside some time every day for a time of prayer and time of Bible reading. And you'll immediately, things will begin to change. And the other thing that people like that need is fellowship, because they probably left the Lord because they ran with the wrong crowd. And when they get back, they need to start running with the right crowd, because if they're still running with the crowd out there that's drinking and smoking dope, it's going to suck them right back in. So, Kevin, you're going to have to be available to them to help them make that transition back to where they need to be. I hope that's helpful to you.
That has been very helpful. And just want to mention, too, I've just finished the 5th course in your Jerusalem Prophecy College, and that has given me just loads of things to share with the unsaved.
Well, that's tremendous, Kevin. And, you know, once you get to working with these people, if you've ever gone through the part of our college, and if you haven't done it yet, you will, that deals with keys to spiritual growth. It teaches a person how to really walk with God and to grow in God. As a matter of fact, there's a promise in the text for that entire 13-lesson series. The text is 2 Peter chapter number 1. We've been given many exceeding great and precious promises that by these we might be partakers of the divine nature. And in those verses, chapter 1, verse 1 through 10, it says, if you do these things, you will never fall. But serving God is easy. If people think it's hard, they're going about it the wrong way. And throughout the Prophecy College, we'll be teaching how to serve God and how to do it in the way that's easy. Jesus said, my yoke is easy, my burden is light.
Good. All right, I'll look forward to that.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, Kevin, and be willing to spend time with those people, help them get back, because it's God's will for them to come back.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it so much. Let's go now right here in Texas to Gary. Hello, Gary. What's on your mind today?
Hello, Irvin. My question is in chapter 7 of Revelation, when it speaks of the 144,000 being sealed, the tribe of Dan is not mentioned, and I was wondering why.
Well, I am not sure I know the answer to that. I do know, though, that the tribe of Manasseh and the tribe of Ephraim is mentioned. Those are the two sons of Joseph. And Jacob laid his hands on the two sons of Joseph and blessed them. I have never wrestled with the question. I know many people have. I've never taken the time to wrestle with the question why Dan is not there. But I do know that Manasseh and Ephraim are there, so that's like taking one son of Jacob and putting two in its place, and perhaps that's the reason why, and that's the best I can do for you. I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer for you.
Irvin, I beg your pardon. I don't think that the tribe of Ephraim is mentioned. I'm not seeing it unless I'm missing something, but it comes with 11 tribes. And it mentions the tribe of Manasseh, but I'm not seeing Ephraim.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to go back and take a look at that. I can't answer you off the cuff. It'll be something for me to look up before tomorrow. So, sorry I can't answer you quickly, but I don't want to give you an answer that's not true.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Gary. Appreciate it so much. Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you, brand new edition of End Time Magazine out. You don't want to miss one edition. You say, well, I just don't like to have to renew all the time. Well, guess what? We have a lifetime subscription. And if you subscribe lifetime for End Time Magazine, then 20% off of all End Time products, you will have that advantage as well. So it'll quickly pay for itself. I would really encourage you, if you don't like to renew, go ahead and subscribe to End Time Magazine. We have now been publishing since 1991. So we're celebrating our, 27th year this year. We've been putting out this magazine. As far as we know, it's the most widely circulated prophecy magazine in the world. And we publish this magazine to give you in-depth articles about the prophecies of the Bible and how they're being fulfilled right now. I think you're really going to enjoy it. For example, in this edition, Dave Robbins writes on the second coming. A lot of people wonder what's going to happen at the second coming of Jesus Christ. Dave digs deep into it. It's right here for you. It's definitely worth the read. Of course, we already have What to Expect in 2018. Rick Breiniger wrote the article, Prophetic Fulfillments of 2017. He wrote that article 12,000 words, so we only were able to put half of it in this edition. Half will be in the next edition. I mean, there were that many prophetic fulfillments throughout 2017, and a lot of people have lived through and don't even realize prophecy is being fulfilled, but really it's being fulfilled all around them. So if you're not a subscriber to End Time Magazine, pick up the phone, call us, 1-800-END-TIME, get subscribed right away. Okay, let's get right back to the phones now. Joshua is calling from Georgia. Hello, Joshua.
Hi, Brother Baxter. Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Same to you.
Yes, sir. I just had a quick question regarding the peace treaty. I was just wondering, did you happen to see where Mahatma Bose, he met, I believe it was just like 2 or 3 weeks ago, he met with Macron, French president, and he was talking about how he didn't want to have anything to do with the U.S. anymore regarding a peace agreement, and he wanted to work more with Macron and the EU. And I was just curious if you had saw that, and do you think that the reins of this peace agreement will eventually swing to the EU instead of the U.S., and they'll kind of take the reins and take over from that point? And I'll take my answer off the air.
Okay, Joshua. Yes, I did see that article. Mahmoud Abbas also has mentioned wanting to bring Vladimir Putin, the head of Russia, into the peace process because he does not want the U.S. to be the agent anymore. He says by them recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And by the way, Trump did not say he recognized all of Jerusalem as the capital. He merely said he recognized Jerusalem, and the borders of Jerusalem would have to be worked out between the Palestinians and the Israelis. Nevertheless, Abbas says we don't want to deal with the Americans anymore. He's got a big problem, though, because America is the only power that Israel trusts enough to allow us to exercise some leverage over Israel to push this deal through. Russia does not have the influence. Europe certainly does not have the influence. Now, could possibly several people come to the table? For example, Netanyahu is visiting with Vladimir Putin, I think, in the next few days. And he has had quite a good relationship with Putin. Since America and Russia have worked together with the Syrian situation, and it seems they've been successful, is there a chance that Russia and America could work on a peace deal which would make Mahmoud Abbas feel like he's got someone on his side sort of equal to the United States of America? I cannot predict exactly how this is going to happen. The Bible simply says that the Antichrist will confirm the covenant with many. We know Saudi Arabia plans to be at the table, the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, Egypt, they all plan to be involved in this peace deal. So we could end up seeing an international agreement, and yet the United States will be there to guard Israel's back. I think that that's very possible. I'm not predicting because I don't know how this is going to turn out. Let's just speculate for a moment. Let's say that President Trump, and he's supposedly crafting a deal right now, let's say he gets this deal done and he secretly presents it to Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the Palestinians. And let's say that Mahmoud Abbas likes it. Now all of a sudden we got to rethink everything. Now, I'm not saying that's happening, but I do know that Trump is very close to having a deal to be presented. It's going to be very interesting to watch how all this plays out. We're up against a break. We have one more segment. We'll continue to take your calls. You're listening to End of the Age. We'll be right back.
Turn your scriptures from black and white into color. Experience the footsteps of Jesus. Understand Bible prophecy that is coming to pass right now. Join Irvin and Judy Baxter and the End Time team this spring 2018 for a life-changing trip to Israel and Jordan. Mark your calendar for April 26th through May 11th for this amazing journey. Call 1-800-END-TIME, that's 1-800-363-8463 and press 2, or go to endtime.com/Israel-tour to receive your information today.
End Time survives on the goodness of God, product sales, and donations from our wonderful partners. If you find End Time to be a blessing to your life, consider us in your year-end giving for 2017. Our End Time team cannot reach the world alone, but with our partners and the God we serve, nothing is impossible. To be a part of this great cause, call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463 or visit endtime.com/give.
I'd like to add my voice to what Jana just said. I want to thank all of you who did send in special end of the year donations. It was so incredibly helpful to us. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of our faithful partners that contribute monthly throughout the year. Your amount may not be the biggest in the world, but let me tell you, it all adds up, it all counts. And we certainly appreciate every single one of our partners, whether you contribute a large amount or maybe a not so large amount. All of it is important because, sometimes people who contribute small amounts are actually given more than people who give big amounts because they're given the best that they possibly can. And so whether your amount is large or small, it's all very important. If you're out there and you're not yet a partner with End Time, please jump on board. We need you. And we need to expand this ministry this year. One more thing before we get back to our callers, and that is the tour. We're leaving for Israel and Jordan. Now, the addition of Jordan to the trip is going to be so exciting because the Bible prophesies there are 3 places that will never fall under the reign of the Antichrist. Daniel 11:41 says that the children of Edom, Moab, and Ammon will escape out of his hand. Edom is southern Jordan. It's now called Petra. We're going there. It's one of the 7 wonders of the world. It is a marvelous experience. And then the Moab Mountains are in central Jordan. You're going to see them from Israel. Plus, we're going to drive through them. And one of the peaks of the Moab Mountains is Mount Nebo, where Moses stood looking into the promised land. He didn't get to go in, but he was able to view the promised land from Mount Nebo. You're going to stand on Mount Nebo, and you're going to look into the promised land from there, and you will re-experience the experience of Moses. It is a wonderful thing. And then we're going to be in Ammon, Jordan, which is the children of the Ammonites. So the children of Edom, Moab, and Ammon will escape. You're going to be in all 3 of those places, prophesied to never fall under the reign of the Antichrist. It is going to be a marvelous addition to our trip this year. So it's really going to be a great opportunity. But don't wait because the clock's ticking. Give us a call if you need more information. Just call 1-800-END-TIME. Ask to speak to someone about the tour and plan to go with Judy and I. We would love to be with you. We're with you every step of the way. It's going to be a marvelous tour. That's all I can tell you. I haven't even said anything about Israel, which of course is the best place in the world to visit. Okay, let's get right back to the phones now. Alicia's calling from Missouri. Hello, Alicia.
Hello.
Yeah, what's on your mind, Alicia?
Yes, I had a question. I've been following you guys for a really long time now. I just am very confused on this question that some family been telling me that. I'll just ask the question real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Why do some people believe that the fall of Jerusalem in 70 AD was Matthew 24? And this
They embrace a doctrine, Alicia, called preterism. The word preterism means past.
Yes.
And so consequently, they say that when the Romans destroyed Jerusalem in 70 AD, that was the Battle of Armageddon. However, that cannot possibly be true, and here's why. You might want to write this down.
Yes, I have my pen.
In Revelation chapter number 16, verse 12 through 16, it describes the Battle of Armageddon. It says that the Euphrates River will be dried up to make way for the kings of the east to invade Israel for the Battle of Armageddon. So who invaded Israel back in 70 AD? Was it the kings of the east? The answer is no. It was the Romans. The Romans are due west of Israel. So it was not the kings of the east. Therefore, it was not the fulfillment of the prophecy about Armageddon. That was not the Battle of Armageddon. Now, that's just one proof, but you don't need more than that because that's conclusive. Does that help?
Yes, that helps me so much. I've been actually thinking about this for a year now, and I've been wanting to call you and ask this question for a long time because it's really been bothering me.
Yeah, well, if you want to really get deep into this subject, we have a DVD called Preterism. I had this question a few years ago when it was really hot, and I actually did a DVD on preterism, refuting preterism. If you really need a lot of information, I think I taught an hour and a half on it with all the proof that it cannot, that the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD cannot possibly be the Battle of Armageddon. So if you're interested, that DVD is available. Call us at 1-800-END-TIME.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. Appreciate the phone call. A Facebook viewer, Theo, would like to know, will the rapture or the tribulation take place first? I won't answer you. I'll let the scripture answer you. Here's what Matthew 24, 29 through 31 says. These are the words of Jesus himself. Here's what it says. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, the moon shall not give her light, the stars will fall from heaven. Then shall the Lord send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Jesus said, immediately after the tribulation, he'll send his angels to gather his elect. And then he said, immediately after that, commentary about what he just had spoken, and two will be in the bed, one shall be taken, the other left. Two shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken, the other left. So be you also ready, for in such an hour as you think not, your Lord doth come. All that commentary in the remainder of Matthew 24 is about the rapture that will occur immediately after the tribulation. So the tribulation happens first, and then after that will be the rapture. Let's get right back to the phones now. And Oleg is calling from Pennsylvania. And Oleg, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Brother Baxter. Really nice to have you back after a long time.
Thank you.
I have a question about where it says, I believe in Daniel, that the Antichrist will confirm the covenant with many. I was wondering if that word confirm can also mean not the initial signing of the peace treaty that we hear about on the program, but can he confirm an existing one, meaning whenever the peace is first introduced, it's not from that time that the 7 years will start. Can it be that it will start after the confirmation of the existing covenant?
Yeah, I've wrestled with that question, Oleg. It's a good question. Could it be that they would conclude a peace agreement, and then the Antichrist come along later and say, I agree with this, and that would start the final 7 years? There's a problem with that, because the Bible teaches what will happen under the peace agreement. The conditions of the peace agreement will be, number one, the Temple Mount will be placed under a sharing arrangement halfway through the final 7 years. Number two, the temple will be built during the first 3.5 years of the final 7, because according to Scripture, the temple has to be standing at the halfway point. And then at the halfway point, the Antichrist will stop the sacrifices, which will have been resumed once the temple is completed. And then he will place the abomination that makes desolate, which means he will stand in the temple claiming to be God. After putting all these things together, I don't see how you can have a peace agreement and then 10 years later, the Antichrist comes along and says, yeah, I agree with that, so that's going to begin the final 7 years. After I've wrestled with it, I don't think
what I was actually implying is if there was a peace agreement signed, and that triggers a very soon reaction, something like we've seen in the past, the 6 Days War, or similar. So like within months of the initial signing, there's some precipitation, something as a result of that peace agreement, and soon, not within a decade or 35 years, but something like within a month or a year, something, because the region is right now is so hot, and people are not going to take it easily, that peace agreement. So I was thinking maybe the confirmation is very soon, maybe a couple of months, maybe, to a year, but not the initial peace. What would you say?
Well, I'm not sure that I can give any ironclad guarantees. However, when the agreement is reached, I think it's going to produce a temporary relief. I think they're going to be given Nobel Peace Prizes. I was there when they signed the agreement in 1993. When I say I was there, I was listening, I was watching, and there was a euphoria after the signing of the peace agreement in 1993, the Oslo Peace Accords. And I would be surprised if, when this agreement is signed, if there's not euphoria and the passing out of Nobel Peace Prizes. Now, that's my opinion. If it turns out some other way, we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. So that's my opinion. Oleg, I hope that helps, and we'll see what happens. Okay, thank you very much. Let me see. Let's go now. Let's go now to Victoria, calling from Minnesota. Hello, Victoria.
God bless you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm new to your network. I have a question. When did the creation happen? What year? Is it like 4,000 years ago, or?
I believe the present creation happened approximately 6,000 years ago. Our calendars are not totally reliable, but according to biblical chronology, you know, in the Bible, you have all these begets. Adam lived so many years and he begat Seth, and then he lived so many years and he begat so-and-so. And all those begats, if you'll take time to add them all up, Adam was somewhere around 4,130 BC, and then we've had a little over 2,000 years since then. So we're a little over 6,000 years right now from the present creation. But was there a creation prior to this creation? I personally believe there was, because the Bible tells, God said to Adam and Eve, go forth, multiply, and replenish the earth. I do not believe there were human beings before then. I believe Adam and Eve were the first human beings, but I believe there was a previous creation, because he said, go forth, multiply, and replenish the earth. You cannot replenish something that was not previously inhabited. And the Bible also teaches that Lucifer was in the garden of God and was perfect until iniquity was found in him. Lucifer was given the job of being the god of this world, and he still has that job today. So he was the ruler of the earth until he rebelled against God. I believe that his rebellion produced the chaos. I don't believe the earth was originally created in chaos, but I believe it became chaotic with the cataclysmic overthrow of the earth by Satan's rebellion, and then God recreated things, and that's when he made mankind. Now, that's what I believe.
Okay, I was just wondering, once in a while, you'll see newspaper articles that scientists find these fossils of human beings, you know, that are like 12,000 years old. So I when people ask me, you know, I have to think I don't know the answer.
Well, Victoria, all I can tell you is I took a little science in school, and the carbon-14 test can really get off if atmospheric conditions change. So some bones that they've dated for 2,000 or 2 million years have ended up being 50 years old. So you got to be careful when you put too much stock in that. Totally out of time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for participating today. God bless you. See you tomorrow.
End of the Age is a production of End Time Ministries. This broadcast will be available on our website, endtime.com, in the archives section. On our website, you'll also find more information about how current events are fulfilling Bible prophecy. To reach our operators, call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. End Time Ministries is partner supported. We would like to say thank you to our partners who made this broadcast possible. To do what Matthew 24:14 said, to reach the world with the gospel of the kingdom.